What up, what up, what up? Real Fans Podcast back at it again. Week 8. I'm here. I'm hosting it. I'm your boy Gabe. That's Julian over there. Julian, how you doing today?
Doing good, doing good. Week 8 is in the books. We're going into week 9. We're pretty much halfway through the season, man. Like that's it. Like we're halfway through already. Time has flown. It's kind of crazy thing. Some people's season's already over. Some might still be in the hunt. Some are feeling good. Honestly, I don't know how to feel about some teams, but it's still pretty crazy. I will say, as the halfway point for me, the AFC is maybe not as good as I thought it was coming into the season, because I was kind of trashing the NFC, saying that NFC is going to be the weaker one. It's going to be the more wide open. The AFC is super top heavy. There's so many good teams there, but man, I look like an idiot now because it seems like the AFC is just so wishy-washy. Anybody can lose to anybody. No one looks super dominant. Even the Kansas City Chiefs, the only undefeated team left, they still don't look like amazing.
They're great. Yeah.
Like, it's kind of wild to think that they're still the only undefeated team, but they did have a favorable schedule, and their division's not the greatest. So, but yeah, I mean, we're at the halfway point. What do you think so far into this 2024 season?
I think it's more eventful than I thought. We had a couple teams. You always kind of know who the top dogs are coming into the season. It's been, the last few weeks have been, there's been a lot of upsets, a lot of close games. So it's been more interesting than I would have expected. But I kind of think we know who's who at this point. Like, now I can talk definitively. In the beginning of the season, I don't like talking about, this team's going to be this team. Let's do a record. I'm like, I don't know. I was like, let me give me like 3-4 weeks, and then I can tell you how I actually feel about a team. You know what I mean? But I feel like we're at that point now where people are, these games become more important as you get closer and closer to the playoff. And the losses mean more, I guess, at this point in the season, because there's going to be jockeying for positioning. I'm looking now at the playoff picture. There's teams on the bubble. They're kind of in between teams. You never know. So let's get into it, man. Let's talk about week 8. I guess we can talk about the big news. We start off with the big news first. Injuries and trades. I know there was some news, but Julian, I want to see what you have pulled up.
All right. So first things first. It was National Tight Ends Day.
And did they even announce that? Did they talk about that at all? I don't think they
on Red Zone they brought it up constantly. I guess it was started by George Kittle a couple years ago. But hey, look, man, there was a lot of tight ends who got touchdowns. Yeah. I mean, watching Red Zone, going back, watching highlights and going through. Look, the tight ends showed up for week 8, man. That they knew it was their week. They were underrepresented for decades. Now they're appreciated. It's still hard to find a good tight end nowadays, but they, when week 8 comes around, it's going to be a good day for them. So either way, but let's go on to the injuries. So the big ones, obviously there's a lot of injuries that happen every single week, but we're going to talk about the most notable ones. First one being Jordan Love getting a groin injury, a nagging one at that. He's been kind of in and out of the lineup. And then in the middle of the Jaguar game, he kind of had enough and he had to get pulled out, and Malik Willis came in. Also, Stephon Diggs, injured knee. He's going to be out. Christian Kirk, fractured collarbone. That's going to hurt for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then also the wide receiver stud, the rookie stud, Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be out for 4 weeks with the chest injury. So obviously there's going to be some smaller ones here and there for your niche team, but those are kind of like the more bigger, more impactful ones that I think that I wanted to bring up. But I do want to talk about a little bit on each of these. So Jordan Love, man, this guy, he's looked pretty good when he's played throughout the season. He's been kind of showing a lot of late game heroics. Just kind of start off slow every single game, but then towards like halftime and then into the second half, the guy just lights it up and he's playing super well. And it sucks to see him get some sort of injury like this, a nagging muscle injury. I've dealt with a groin myself. It's just one of those things. Anything muscle related, like your hamstring, your groin, your abdomen, that stuff, it's like no matter what you do, it just kind of hurts. And look, Malik Willis has done a great job so far stepping in. He's been 3-0 since he's played. I still don't think he's necessarily a great backup, but they're getting the job done. I'm curious to see if Jordan Love can come back and and really turn the team around, because now, like you said, the NFC North is super, super tight and everybody's pushing for a playoff spot. But yeah, what'd you think?
Yeah, I think, when it comes to injuries, like you worry about the groin, right? Because that's kind of your base, right? That's kind of your setup. If you're talking about a quarterback who's going to throw, I mean, he can run it as well. But when you talk about throwing, like obviously you're going to be planning with your legs, and if you have that nagging injury, it's kind of affect your mobility, his ability to avoid tackles, but B also, it might take away from his power or, the way he throws. He might have to plant more. He's not going to be, doing these kind of awkward throws on the run, because it could affect his throwing motion. So, and he's been good for them. They've been playing well, better than I expected. So, obviously, when you have a quarterback who's a star player, a star draft pick coming in, it's always going to be effective, especially like you said with the NFC being tight. We'll see what happens with Green Bay.
Yeah, and then Stephon Diggs, knee injury, and like you said, out for the season. That's a brutal hit for Houston. That's obviously, you brought him in to be that number one guy to help CJ Stroud out, and he sure as hell been that guy. He's been a big part of that offense, and they're an aerial offense. So now losing that number one piece, it really sucks for them. But I do like moments of what I've seen from Tank Dell and being able to kind of hopefully step up and be that role that they need. The good thing is they do have Joe Mixon and Agombuale back there that are running all over the place. And look, CJ Stroud's still able to get it done. They still have Dalton Schultz as tight end. So I do think not having Stephon Diggs is not going to help them get over that hump to maybe go deep into the playoffs, because you need that guy, especially late in the year. And I don't know about you, but it feels like every week they are lighting up the scoreboards. So hopefully they can continue to do that even without having him. But man, that to me, that's a major blow for Houston.
Yeah. I mean, obviously one of the biggest trades coming in to this offseason, that was going to be like an automatic impact kind of guy. So it's devastating him having, I think it was an ACL season done automatically. I think there was also injury to Nico Collins. Tank Dell, we can get into it a little later, but Tank Dell was looking good for them. So, Houston's one of these teams, although they're kind of top of their conference right now. There's going to be a devastating injury because you expect a star player like Diggs to go all the way to the playoffs and perform. So there's definitely going to be a drop off, and I wonder how this is going to affect them going forward.
Yeah, especially since Houston has been winning close games, and losing a big piece like that might affect them from not being able to like eke out those wins at the end, because it seems like the past couple of weeks they've just been barely skating by in some of these games. So, and then just combine Kirk and Thomas out for Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is pretty much going to go into these weeks with absolutely no receiver. Gabe Davis has been an absolute bust. The guy, he's just not. I didn't like the signing in the first place, but you still have Evan Ingram, who is one of the best tight ends in the league, but missing Brian Thomas Jr., who's been an absolute baller, been lighting up secondaries. He's so fast, killing corners, and then Christian Kirk, who's really good in the middle. Losing both those guys, man, it hurts big time. So you're going to have to rely on a lot of those third, fourth string receivers to step up. So it's going to be a rough year for Jacksonville. But yeah, speaking of that, I do want to get into our game highlights. I will give my first one. And these are the games that we want to talk about that we saw. Me and Gabe pick 3 or 2, however we feel. We might overlap, but kind of games that we liked, that we thought were entertaining, that were fun, and we want to cover. And that one being the Jacksonville Green Bay game. Gabe, I'll point it to you first. What is your thoughts on that game? Did you get a chance to check that one out or not? If not, I'll take it over.
No, I'll let you take it over. I didn't get a chance to see that game. I know I saw the injury that was suffered, but I'll let you get into it because that's kind of your team, so you can go off.
Yeah, so pretty much the game started out the game started out pretty slow for both squads. I thought the Jaguars defense was actually playing really well. Obviously, we expect a lot from the Green Bay defense. The Green Bay defense is very good, one of the best in the league. And both had a good showing in the first half, pretty low scoring. And then the second half comes around. Jordan Love still was healthy at that point, kind of semi. He looked in pain pretty much the whole game after, like, I think a certain hit that he had. And then basically Trayvon Walker did like a late hit on him on one of the plays, and he was pretty much done after that. Just a tiny little hit to just a shove, but you could tell just by the way he landed, didn't hit right. So basically, before he got injured, they started putting up points. They had a pretty strong lead. Put about 27 points. It was 27-17. Then Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence has one of the best drives I have seen, 2 drives, I should say, that I've seen from him probably in his career. One of the 2 best. He basically takes it down the field, gets a quick field goal. They get a 3 and out, get the ball back. He drives it in I want to say 7 plays all the way down the field. Touchdown to Evan Ingram, ties the game up. And then Malik Willis, who probably only had 5 passes before that, super short dink and dunks. There's a minute left on the clock. He just throws a 30-yard bomb to I forget who, and he just runs it 40 yards. They're at the 15-yard line, and it was just the defense for the Jacksonville Jaguars fails again. They don't know how to show up in the big moments when it matters the most. They have spurts and a couple drives where they look really good like they did this first half, but then they just completely implode in that second half and give up countless points. They let the ball run all over them. And then right when the game matters the most, you're trying to send it into overtime. You just give up a blown coverage and gets right into field goal range, ran the clock, and scores a touchdown. So I pretty much want to see, I guess the big question coming into this is the season over for the Jaguars. I say it pretty much is. I find it super hard to come back recovering from a 2-6 start. To me, that's pretty much over. With the division's definitely out of the race. Houston isn't giving it up. I don't know if you can get a wild card. I mean, I have to look at the standings again, but I don't trust this team to continue to go forward, especially considering the schedule that they have. The schedule is absolutely brutal. I'm going to pull it up here because I'm actually curious.
I'm looking at the playoff picture. Jags are 13th. They're sandwiched between the Raiders and the Patriots, and below them is the Jets. So they're in that kind of category.
So, we just played the Packers. So next week is the Sunday night game got flexed out because we suck. They play the Eagles this weekend, then the Vikings, then the Lions, then the Texans. So you're talking about probably 4 straight losses after that. So you're going to be probably 2-10, and then it's over. This stretch is just it's done. I think the season's over. I think Doug Peterson's on a short leash right now. I don't know how much longer he lasts, especially if you lose the next 4 games and you're 2-10. You got to start making changes. It just seems like it's time for a complete overhaul of the front office and the coaching staff, and finally getting a new GM and a new coach, because I think the Jags have talent. Clearly, they compete with almost every team they played outside of a Buffalo game, which I think is just one of those games that just get away from you. It's a quality team. They shouldn't be as bad as they are. They're not like the Carolina Panthers. They're not like the New England Patriots. This is a team that should be able to win games, and they're just not doing so. They're not finishing out games. They're not cleaning games. Certain players are giving up that have a lot of talent that just aren't playing to the ability that we thought they could. So to me, the season's over for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I can't imagine them ever coming back from this, especially losing now your 2-star receivers. The most you can get out of this is, I don't even know. I really don't. But any final thoughts when we move on to your pick, if you want to?
No, I was going to say, looking forward about Green Bay. Green Bay also looks pretty good. If you look at Green Bay's losses, I mean, you got week 1 against the Eagles, okay, 34-29. They have a loss against the Vikings, but that's a pretty good team, 31-29. Their schedule, they're going to have, Detroit coming up twice, Miami, Chicago. I see them, being definitely over 500 team. We'll just see how many games that they can win overall. But I think they'll definitely be out there. This is like a team I'll probably have to watch more going forward because I haven't watched a ton of Green Bay games. But their schedule looks pretty good going forward.
Yeah, the only thing that scares me with Green Bay going forward is just Jordan Love, not being healthy and struggling, because Malik Willis is I don't think he's very good. I think the defense keeps him in games. And look, if the defense can keep him in games for the next 3 weeks, they do have a solid start. They're 6-2. I do have a hard time picking him to continue to compete in the division with him being out. But if they can continue to do what they do, then maybe we'll see. You said their schedule was who do they have?
So they play the Lions, and then they have a bye week, and then they play Miami.
The Lions game is going to be tough.
Yeah, that's their toughest matchup. They play the Lions
without
twice.
Love. Without Love.
But they got a bye week after that, and then You need at least split with the Lions. I think that'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully by the December game, he's there. We got the Niners, which is going to be a tough game. At Chicago's seems to be tougher than we would have thought going into the season. The Dolphins they're better now that Tua's back. I mean, but they should win that game.
They should win that game.
So, yeah, man, we'll see. At the NFC North, like I said, super, super interesting. But yeah, point us your next game, man. What do you got?
I want to talk about. Let's go back to Thursday Night Football. I thought that was actually an interesting game. Vikings Rams on Thursday night. Were you able to catch that at all, or do you want me to go off?
I'll let you go on that one.
We finally have the return. Obviously, Rams dealing with a bunch of injuries with Cooper Kupp. Nakula finally came back. My overall thoughts of the game, I thought it was a pretty good game. I thought Darnold looked pretty good on the opening drive. He's been looking okay. Like he looks okay. Like he's not stellar, but he just looks like above average. Like he's looking pretty good.
Is he in the MVP race? I think he is.
You think so? I mean,
even maybe, his all right game, he still threw 240 or 2 touchdowns, 18 for 25.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that. I'm just saying he's having a good year. He might be like third or second tier of names you put up there in the MVP.
Who name the quarterbacks ahead of him right now?
Who we're gonna put ahead of him? I'm gonna put Lamar Jackson above him.
Lamar hasn't been as clean as he has, though.
No, he hasn't. He didn't have a good game. He hasn't had
Sam has
clean
been
games.
Consistently clean.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Stafford up there.
Okay.
Let me think of other teams.
I think it depends how the Rams end the season.
Yeah.
Could say Josh, but maybe I don't think it's Josh's fault though. I don't think the offense is just that good.
Yeah, he's having a decent year. Let me just say that.
Patrick Mahomes doesn't look that good.
He doesn't look. He's not having. I don't think he's having a stellar career year. I mean, he's doing fine enough. You're doing enough just to get along. You know what I mean?
I really think like Sam is up. I don't know what the odds are. Like I think he's top 3 right now. Like I don't know like what argument you could have against him. The dude's been pretty much flawless. I mean,
he's doing pretty good. I'm not gonna,
Continue with what you're saying. I'm gonna look up the odds while you
yeah. He's gonna look that up. So we had finally had the return of Nakua. Nakua was huge for them. He had some really big catches. He was kind of the star of the offense there. I mean, the opening drive was pretty good. Like they were able to score like 4 times. Each team was able to score twice, back to back on those opening drives. So that was, that's really good. What you want to see, like in an opening game. You think that, in my mind, I think that the first drive of a team is going to be their best drive, right? Because as the game continues, teams are going to figure out your game plan and your scheme. So, the best look you're going to get at a team is their opening drives, and they were able to score 4 times or 2 times each team, 4 times in total. Stafford did have a bad interception in the game, and I thought he looked good. There was a lot of spread in this game. There's a lot of spread wide receivers I saw on both sides. I thought Sam Darnold was a little bit better running his offense, but we saw a lot of spread. So that's kind of, it's kind of like Madden style. Like we're going to spread it out. We're going to have 4 or 5 wide receivers out. There was a crazy. This was the play. I don't know if you saw the highlights. There was like a safety with a missed face mask. I don't know if you saw the. Did you see the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, there was a huge call. People were saying, "Oh, should have called it face mask. Should have been a penalty," but they called it safety. That was kind of the prevailing game of the play of the game. But overall, I thought there's a lot more total yards on. If you look at those comparisons, I'm just looking at total team stats. When it comes, they're a little bit the third down efficient. They're a little bit more better. It was 4 and 10 on the other side, so they were better able to convert a little bit more. So they were in positions in third down more. But overall, I was pretty pleased with Sam Darnold. I thought he did overall well. Like you said, I'm not going to consider him MVP, just not yet. I got to see a couple more games, because there's still plenty. We're halfway through. There's still plenty of games left. But
another quarterback that I forgot that's also super hot right now is Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels,
he's another guy who's been pretty much flawless Like I can't think of a bad game he's had so far.
But I don't think of a huge game. Has he had huge games? I got to look at his game log.
He's had some pretty big.
I know
games,
he's had
man.
some, down to the wire,
big opponents.
Yeah. That's another one. But he hasn't had huge games where like he's putting up crazy numbers.
Well, I'll tell you what so Sam Darnold's not in the top. Honestly, I think Sam Darnold's getting a little disrespected right here. They have Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow ahead of Sam. I love Joe Burrow, but in this season, Sam Darnold's been a better quarterback than but the top three, I'll give you top five, is Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, and Jaden Daniels. Patrick Mahomes should not be up there. Yeah. I'm sorry. He's not top.
Let's say Goff and Lamar is probably better than.
And I see Josh Allen leading the race, so I'm not surprised there. I think Lamar Jackson shouldn't. He hasn't been bad. It's not a bad season for him, but I don't think he's playing at an MVP level right now.
He's not playing. He hasn't had clean. He's messed up a couple games. There was some bad. He had at least two bad games.
He's had some bad games. Obviously, this is all like a popularity contest. So you're gonna go have the second guy who's won 2 MVPs already in the top 3 favorites, but I don't think he's in number 2 per se right now. That's kind of surprising, but yeah, man. I think a little disrespectful, man. They got Kyler Murray ahead of Sam Darnold, which I think is kind of crazy. But yeah.
But that was a fun one for me. Like I said, offensively, it was pretty interesting. A lot bit closer. Again, the Rams, I haven't watched a ton of Rams games, so that one was fun to see for me.
Nice. So I'm going to go to my next pick, and it is your Miami Dolphins versus the Arizona Cardinals.
We'll talk about this game.
Tua's back after getting his head rocked for the 10th time. I don't know if he should really be playing anymore, but hey, it's his decision. But I will say this: the beginning of the game, about the first 2 quarters, the Finns' offense looked back. They looked efficient. They looked fast. They were doing they were doing their McDaniel system where it's like 5-10-yard passes, and you have your speedsters who are able to get the yards after catch. They looked pretty much back to where they were, what we saw last year, and the beginning of the first. Well, I guess week 1 you didn't necessarily look at peak level, but yeah, pretty much the same system. I did see Tua when they started to try to get deep and try to throw the ball a little farther. He was just pretty inaccurate. He just couldn't hit the throws. Granted, that's kind of been his shtick since he's entered the league. He's just not a good long ball guy. So they built a system around him. And yeah, I thought they were doing really well. A-Chain was running the ball all over the place. Yeah, Moser was running the rushing attack was playing really good. The offensive line and the run game was pretty solid. So, for a second there, I thought oh man, Dolphins offense is back. But the one thing that continues to hurt the Dolphins this entire season is that secondary, man. You guys get killed consistently. No. Jalen Ramsey is not that same guy anymore. He hasn't been really that same guy for a long time. And they just getting absolutely killed. Marvin Harrison Jr. had a day. McBride had a day. And that was pretty much what I would say kill you. You guys put up 27 points. Arizona came down right at the end to get the game-winning field goal.
Yeah.
I will say Kyler Murray, he looks much improved this season. I think last year was pretty much a down year for him, especially with the injuries and stuff. So this year, I like the Cardinals. They're kind of a fun team to watch. They're super competitive. I like the offensive weapons that they have on the outside. I do think they need some more pieces because they're still kind of in that mid-rebuild phase, but they are getting better. I think they need to have more defensive pieces and maybe a better running back because Connor is he's just not that good. I feel like he just seems slow to me, and he's now getting older. So Arizona is a team where it's we saw what they did against San Francisco. They're a competitive team. They're not necessarily a team that you can really walk over, and they've shown that they can put up points, and especially when you can get Marvin Harrison cooking, bro, it's hard to stop him. But yeah, what do you think of this game? I know you're watching your Dolphins.
Overall, man, it was kind of devastating. It's a great win for the Cardinals on the road. You look at the team stats, all these teams are pretty even, some of the completions and the efficiency. Overall, I felt like you said, the opening drives, the first half looked pretty good. They looked competent. But yeah, A-Chain looked great. he looked really good. I thought Kyler Murray looked good on the rollout. Like he looked good. He looked patient. He was, doing his checkdowns correctly. He was making correct throws. I thought the game kind of turned around the safety. There was a fumble, a mishandled, a mishandled hike turned to a safety. And I think that's when the game kind of turned around. We go down, Harrison scores a touchdown and it's 28-18 or sorry, 28-20. And that kind of turned around the game itself. They look pretty even. Overall, the Dolphins look, obviously way better, obviously improved from last week in the last few weeks.
Yeah, because God, tough loss. It makes you wonder how Huntley was ever a Pro Bowler.
I mean, he got in barely because some guy
got in because everybody else declined.
Yeah, everybody else declined. So yeah, I mean, tough loss. You can't lose at home, especially they go down. I think they're 2-5 now. You can't lose at home to the Cardinals.
1-3 at home.
The Cardinals are improved, and you get Tua back, and you guys play. You get Mostert's back. They play well. There were some big throws. There was missed. Tua missed Tyreek on some big throws. He underthrew him.
That's what I was saying. And super inaccurate on the deep
and then
ball,
missed him in the end zone. So there, there's at least 6 points right there you could have had. Overall, I'm feeling better that Tua's out there. There's a play where he had a huge run and Tua had to slide, and apparently, everybody in the stadium apparently was hooting and hollering that he was actually sliding. Yeah, and that's the thing too.
Get down.
Watching the game, I've always worried about Tua. I've never worried about Tua playing football. Obviously, with him, I worry about the injuries adding up with him, but I've never ever had doubt in like, oh my God, like this kid, he just can't play or he can't run. Like he's gonna have to figure that out for himself. But some of the throws just don't look great. And that's what you get with Tua. Sometimes you get these kind of 50-50 where he looks great on some throws, but also, the timing and the passing can be out of whack. So
I tell you what, though, you guys mastered the short pass for him, which making it easy for him. But
that was the whole thing, man. It was supposed to be the fastest team, man. You got Achane. You're supposed to be the fastest team. You got Mostert, Achane. You got Tyreek. You're supposed to be fast at the block, quickest release, quick with the run, scheming, whatever. And you see how it looks like when Tua's not in there. So it's kind of disappointing because we're getting to that point now. You talk about teams, you talk about your Jaguars. We're getting to that point where you're like, you look at the playoff picture, we're like number 10. So we're kind of on the bubble. We're close to there. We're kind of these iffy, washy teams, especially with the Jets being bad, Patriots being bad. But
fighting for number 1 overall pick.
So it's like a point of season where it's like, man, we've kind of wasted like 3 weeks with just injuries and bad games. And, this is a tough loss to have, especially, going in halfway through the season. So overall,
y'all should have picked up Tannehill. Tannehill would have ran that offense.
He didn't want to come, man. He wanted to start. He wanted to be a starter.
Was that what it was?
I think so. I think I want a situation where he can play. He's in South Florida. He lives in South Florida. He has a home there.
I thought it was that the Dolphins didn't want to suck it up and bring him in, because I always thought, I'm like, they need to give him a call right now, because if anybody could run this offense, he can. It's not like it's a complicated offense at the end of the day. They've made it very simple for Tua, which kind of surprises me that Huntley couldn't pick it up in the first place. But how do you feel about the defense? Because, I mean, man, like, that secondary is rough.
Yeah, I've had issues for the past three years with the secondary. I thought, our safety is pretty good. Holland is one of these guys that are revered to be a great safety. I don't know if people speak about his name nationally, like people know about him. But overall, I've always had issues with this, especially, and going back to the D line, we've put more pressure in the past, right? We had to let go of Christian Wilkinson. We had to let go. Last year we had Chubb go down with a huge injury. You had some, Van Ginkel's looking great, and freaking he leaves and looks great because he's always, he's like a ball hawk. So we've had some losses on defense that made us, competitive. That made us look good in the turnover game and putting pressure and pressure on the quarterback. But the defense is kind of meh. It's meh to kind of below average for me, and I've always had issues with that with the way they've been drafting. So yeah, man, it's kind of like we're teetering. It's like you could be one of these playoff hunt teams, but also we're like 2 or 3 games away from it being completely over and the season being a wash.
I'll tell you what, it's bad when you give up 31 to Tennessee.
Yeah. We've had bad losses, man. I don't know why we get these weird games where we just lose to bad teams, and it sucks.
Because I'm looking at gave up 20 to Jacksonville, 31 to the Bills, 24 to Seahawks, 31 to Tennessee. You only gave up 10 to the Patriots, but it's also the Patriots.
Yeah.
Colts, you gave up 16, but it's the Colts, who actually just benched Anthony Richardson to put in Flacco. Breaking news.
Yeah.
And then the Cardinals, 28. But yeah, man. All right, give me your next game.
All right. I want to talk about the Colts Texans games. Were you able to see that? Do you want to talk about the Colts Texans since we took bringing up the Colts?
We go. Let's go.
All right.
It looks like we got something different, each of us.
Oh, we got something different? Oh, really?
I think so. Yeah. You haven't picked one of mine yet. So.
Oh, man.
I only got one more.
Yeah, I just want to talk about this game because, obviously I'm kind of quietly rooting, now that my Dolphins are doing terrible, the teams I kind of quietly root for are like the Ravens and the Texans.
Damn, I thought we were friends, Gabe. You don't root for the Texans?
Man, I just like it, man. I like CJ Stroud, man. I like fun. I like fun young team that they're putting together. And obviously we talked about earlier about the devastating injury, Stephon Diggs going down. I thought there were some really good highlights. I thought overall there was like some star players. Like it wasn't like blown out. I thought Mixon was really great. He was really fun to watch. He had a great touchdown runs. They were using him a lot. Taylor looked really good for the Colts. He had some great runs. I think the moment of the game that people are talking about today that you brought up earlier about Flacco coming in is Richardson tapping out. I think it was like the third quarter. It's like a 3rd and goal or something, and the kind of the end of the third quarter, and him tapping his helmet, asking for Flacco. I was like, why are you tapping out the third quarter? And at me, a lot of people. A lot of people
bad.
And here's what I want to say, because I don't know like what his situation is. This guy could be fighting the flu, or he could have gone to the cricket play last night. I don't know what it is. I'm just gonna assume that
he pulled a James Harden.
I'm gonna assume that he's a professional player and that he might be dealing with something that nobody else knows about. But it is kind of telling that they came out officially and said that Flacco is going to start, which, Flacco, it was good for them. I think he was like, I saw somebody put up a stat. He was like, has like 7 touchdowns, is throwing like 700 yards or something for them with like 1 interception. So he's been really good. Maybe this is a style. I don't know what it is with Anthony Richardson. I hope more comes out. If he was physically sick or ill, or, I mean, you got to be conditioned. We're halfway through the season. You can't say you're out of condition. So I hope it's not anything nefarious or something like the guy was out partying, late at night. But I'm just going to assume that he's a professional. Maybe the health has to do with it. We'll see what comes out. But overall, I thought it was crazy for the Colts. Pittman didn't get a catch until like the 4th quarter, which is pretty crazy. He's one of their top receivers. Him and Pierce. Pierce does really well for them. Downs a guy, I haven't really heard a lot. Josh Downs had a really great game. He had huge, I think he scored a couple times and had like some big pickups for them, Josh Downs, on the day. And there was at the end, kind of the turnaround. There was an ugly play that got blown up. They had to call down because of Mixon. There was a toss to Mixon and it got completely blown up. The defensive lineman got downfield, kind of blocked the toss. And they were able to pick it up and score for a touchdown, but they called it back and said it was down by contact, which was kind of a crazy play if they would have just didn't call it, because Mixon kind of stopped after the ball got turned over. They kind of stopped and the guy just kept running. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe they're gonna score. They're gonna call this the freaking touchdown, but they brought it back after replay. So overall, I thought this was a fun game. Like I said, there were some star players. Mixon was good. Taylor was good for them. Josh Downs had a day. CJ Stroud, he looked okay. I think there was a lot of shotgun. He looked okay at times, but I thought this was a pretty fun game.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm just looking at like this, and I like looking through the game and watching the game as it was happening. I didn't watch it like every single snap, but Man, Anthony Richardson, 10 for 32,
Yeah.
175 yards. He has a 30 QBR. And there's moments where I've watched him play and he's looked all right. He's looked decent. He hasn't looked bad. But, like, I don't know what's going on with him. Like you said, like, I just tried looking up to see if anything came out recently while we're talking. Haven't really seen anything. All that's said is that he needed a break, I guess. Like, so I don't know if something happened internally. I feel like something would have came out if it was something physical. So I'm not entirely sure what exactly is going on there. I think the Colts for sure are making a statement by benching him. Like, hey, like, you got to finish out games if you are healthy and you can play. Yeah. And to me, the fact that they're doing that and not mentioning an injury makes me feel like that he's not actually injured. Maybe it's a conditioning thing. I don't know. I'd be kind of surprised if it was a conditioning thing, to be honest with you, because he's a pretty athletic guy as it is. But yeah, I do think, though, Houston made this game way too close than it should have been. I feel like Houston should have. I don't know how the Colts are 4-4, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know how they continue to win games. It kind of surprises me. But, like, I thought CJ Stroud had a pretty decent game. Like, I thought, obviously, Stephon Diggs had a good game until the injury came up. Joe Mixon seems to be playing better here than he did at Cincinnati. Yeah. I don't know if it's just the system. Like, Joe Mixon was always a solid running back. He's a good air back. He can go downhill if he needed to, but he just seems to fit this system very, very well. So, yeah, I like Houston going forward. To me, I think clearly they're going to win the division. We'll see what's going to happen if Tank Dell can really step up. I'm not sure how long Nico Collins is gone for. I don't know if you know that. But they still do have Robert Woods. Maybe he can turn back the clock a little bit and maybe start getting some more snaps and maybe start playing better. So, yeah, I still feel pretty confident with this Houston team, especially with the way that the AFC is looking going forward, that they could win a playoff game and potentially make it ring. Because, like I said, no one's really sticking out to me like that. Like obviously, like we said, the Chiefs are undefeated, but like, are they really that good? Like, yeah. No, we haven't really. Like, Travis Kelce's probably having one of the downest years he's had in a long time since he first started in the league. They're trying to bring back DeAndre Hopkins. Like, who knows how much you're going to really get out of him nowadays. So Houston looks like they should still, even with missing out on Diggs, CJ Stroud has enough, can do enough that can really push them over the ledge, I think. So, yeah.
And we'll just to report back, Nico Collins is eligible to come off the IR. He had a hamstring. He was out with a hamstring, so he's eligible to come out for week 10. So,
not too long. Yeah.
He should be.
And I think if you can get Nico Collins and Tank Dell, that's not terrible. There's worse out there, you know. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll go over to my next game, and let's see if you have. This is my final one, and that's the Browns versus the Ravens.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the game. Yeah.
Okay, there's our overlap. All right, so obviously this is Jameis Winston show out game, comes back after being on the bench. He said, what was his quote? Gosh, I can't remember. It was like
he had so many quotes. He had today God has made this day, and I'm here for this day or something. He was something, very preachy. You know, he's very, it's not a bad thing. It's just the way Jameis. It
sounded like a video game.
Yeah,
it sounded like you're on like a video game, and you're like you have that character. He's like.
He talks like I think somebody on Twitter was joking. Is like he talks like he's in a movie that nobody's recording or something, like nobody's filming.
Exactly, that's exactly what it is. Like I'm picturing like that or like a video game cutscene or something.
Remember the Titans, but nobody's filming. There's no director.
But I tell you what, though, whatever he did pre-game, he lived up to it. He played out of his mind. He played very well. You can tell the LASIK is working. He's not throwing interceptions anymore. This guy, he's good. And clearly, Deshaun Watson has been the problem at Browns, which anybody with two eyes could tell you that he has just been terrible. He hasn't been the same since he left Houston, and that whole legal scandal's gone out, which, quite honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, and I've been saying it from the jump, and I don't know if you remember in like our episodes from like 2 years ago, I've always thought Deshaun Watson was a little overrated, even during his like prime. I was never super high on him in the first place, like other people were. And these past couple of years, he has just been atrocious. Like, I didn't think he was this bad. But Jameis Winston steps up. He's been waiting for his turn. He's been doing QB sneaks in and out of the games for the Browns, but that's pretty much been the crux of it. And the Browns have been able to establish a run and a pass very well. They had Nick Chubb rolling. Nick Chubb had a damn good game. Yeah. And Winston was clean. He was accurate and he was efficient. Like every time I saw him throw the ball, he was like right on the money. And mind you, this is with them just trading away Cooper, which was their number one receiver going into it. Now you have Jared Jeudy over there, which he had a couple catches, but Winston was able to like really take advantage of that Ravens defense that has looked honestly pretty poor. Like this Ravens defense has not looked really good. They've been honestly getting killed the past few weeks in the secondary, especially where they're just leaving guys wide open. There's a lot of open spaces, especially getting in front of them. Like the Browns were really able to take advantage of a lot of the short passes because I don't know why, but it feels like the Ravens, their defense just keeps on playing so far back and it leaves so much space in the middle area. And they just took advantage of it, just like the way Washington did the week before. So yeah, these quick short passes and then boom, Winston throws a bomb right over the top to score a touchdown. And it's just like, to me, it was just a great offensive scheme going into that, which is kind of surprising to say that coming from the Browns and watching the Browns these past couple of years, to see them actually put together a really efficient drive. And maybe it shows you that, yeah, Deshaun Watson has been the problem the entire time. And quite honestly, that might be one of the best Jameis Winston games I've ever seen, even back to his Tampa days, because even in Tampa days, he played well, but there was always one mistake that was bound to happen. I mean, the year where he led the league in passing touchdowns, but also led the league in interceptions. Like it was like, and people always said like Jameis has something there. Like he's not a bad quarterback. It's just a matter of just dialing it in and just trying to be a little bit more accurate. And even the time that we saw with him at the Saints and now here at the Browns, he's worked on that a little bit, and he's actually become a better quarterback, in my opinion.
But it's crazy to watch him become a veteran, like because I remember watching him in college, and for him to be like the veteran OG now, talking to guys, and like, old, and it's kind of preachy style is kind of crazy. But he played well. There was a lot of shotgun in this game. I thought the Ravens were better, doing like some kind of run fakes and plays out of run plays out of. The shotgun, they were able to fill it better, but he looked good back there. I wonder if the D line was that good that he, usually in shotgun, when you go in a shotgun, you need more time to kind of see how the line is going to attack you, how they're going to come blitz and whatever. But he played well. There were some crazy plays. I think Bateman missed a huge drop. They're down 3. He missed a huge drop in the sun, which was kind of a pivotal thing. And it comes down, the Ravens took the lead 24-23 on the 2-minute drill, and the Browns were able to answer back, even though they missed the 2-point conversion. I mean, overall, I still like the Ravens. They haven't been clean games. I'm hoping that as we get closer to the playoffs, closer to December, that they'll take form, because usually the team that goes in hot is usually the team that caught into the playoffs is the team that plays well the last few weeks, the last 4 or 5 weeks of the NFL. So I'm still up on the Ravens. They're not as, I'm not going to say that they have flaws, especially. I don't think this was an especially great game from Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry looked good. That's another guy I want to mention. Like, he's on my MVP race.
Game. Zay Flowers has looked good all season. That dude, it looks like the Ravens finally got some like real deal weapons for Lamar.
You didn't mention this.
Flowers.
You didn't mention this earlier because we didn't talk about the trades, but the Carolina Panthers traded DeJounte Johnson from Carolina to the Ravens. I don't know if we mentioned that earlier, but that was a huge trade that came out today. Adam Schefter put it out. I don't know what the compensation was, whatever, but so they're picking up people.
That defense is bad. You want me to name? I'll tell you the amount of points they gave up each game. So they gave up 27 against the Chiefs, 26 against the Raiders, 25 against the Cowboys, only 10 against the Bills. That's their only good defensive game. But the Bills also cashed it in early. They gave up 38 against the Bengals, but they won that game. They've just been winning in shootouts. 23 against the Commanders, and then 31 against the Bucks, and now 29 against the Browns. So they're averaging like the mid 20s to high 20s in like giving up points per game. Like, so you're forcing Lamar Jackson and the offense to pretty much drop. If they don't put up 30, they're losing. It seems like,
yeah,
which is not a recipe for a good team. Be honest with you.
Yeah. Is there? Do you want to get into any?
Yeah, and I do see the Dante Johnson. Yeah, 1 hour ago, he was just traded. So that's a big. I would say that's a big pickup for the Ravens. I mean,
I don't know if they needed it because they have players like I said, they have Bateman. Bateman had a big drop, but Bateman is he has he's a pretty good. Zay Flowers. He's small, but he's really fast.
Yeah, he's been great.
Mark Andrews had a touchdown. Mark Andrews had a touchdown. I'm talking on tight end. Mark Andrews had a touchdown, but I think likely is a better tight end for now. And Mark Andrews is picking up. He's picking up more receptions lately, but I think likely is the guy. So they have weapons, man. They have weapons, and like I said, Lamar Jackson hasn't been playing particularly well. He had a couple games where he's messed up. Bad interceptions or bad decision making, but. Overall, I think they're primed. They're primed to be deep Super Bowl team.
All right, cool. Do you have any final games? Or you want to move on to our player highlights?
You can do the player. Let's do the player highlights.
All right, player highlights. So my player highlight is Bo Nix from the Denver Broncos.
Really?
Yes, wow. I know he played the Carolina Panthers, easily the worst team in football, but the man played lights out, 28 for 37, 287 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. This was kind of his, I don't want to say breakout game, but this was the game where he really lit it up. And I feel like for a rookie, you need those games. Obviously, time will tell if he's going to do it against elite defenses. And, he's still a rookie. He's still learning. But I think it's important for a rookie. Same thing with Caleb Williams a couple weeks ago when they played the Carolina Panthers. I think you need a game where you can just, prove that you can play in the NFL. Because it's hard when you're grinding week in and week out against tough competition and squeezing out games and having tough defensive battles. I think having a game like this Carolina game is good for his mental and his psyche. And shout out to Bo Nix. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. I like what I've seen from him, even in the games where he hasn't played amazing. I still think he's a quality quarterback that the Denver Broncos have had in a long time. And I think he's going to be the future there. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I think I gotta go Jameis Winston, man. Surprise of the week. Everybody kind of laughs. Listen, Jameis Winston is a funny guy. But like you said, like we kind of discussed earlier, he plays well. Like he played really well this game. Going forward, I don't think the Brown season is anything to save, but he had a really great week. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, the guy had a game. Threw over for over 300 yards. So, I think he's the highlight of the week, especially with his quotes. Just his pregame and postgame quotes are the highlight of the week for me.
Jameson was right. I was between him and Bo Nix, but I had a feeling you were going to pick Winston, so I was like, let me go Bo Nix. I think, and I wanted to give the rookie some credit. All right, so my team highlight, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons get another big victory against a divisional opponent on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're now 3-0 away. They're 5-3 overall. Kirk Cousins looks like he's a brand new man. Threw 4 touchdowns this week. You still got so much talent on the offense with Darnell Mooney, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. This offense is rolling, man. They're playing really well. They're putting up points. The only thing that Atlanta needs to get together is the run game. Last year, what we saw with Bijan Robinson, you thought oh, wow, this guy's going to be a really good running back. He's going to be the running back of the future here in Atlanta. You come into this season, you're feeling good about it, but he hasn't really been, he's been having a super quiet season. Algier also not really playing that well. They need to get the run game going, and I haven't dove too much into the offensive line, so it could be offensive line play, but then again, they're playing well they have good pass protection for what I've been seeing so far. Let me know down below if you are an Atlanta fan, what you feel about that. And I also do think the defense needs to still play a little better because they still do give up a lot of points. But I think the rest of the schedule is not bad. The Falcons are playing a lot better than honestly anticipated. I didn't think Atlanta was going to be the worst team in the league by no means, but they're playing pretty damn well. And they beat a Tampa Bay team that I rate pretty highly back-to-back times. So they got the sweep on them, which is your toughest competition in the division right now. So considering everything going on now, like I like them going forward. And Kirk Cousins, you got a veteran who's been there, done that. Now let's see if he can really do something, because I think he can lead this team to the playoffs. Let's just see what he can actually do in the playoffs, because we saw the past few years in Minnesota, while he's had great regular seasons, playoff time comes around, he's kind of goes ghost and non-existent. And, you know, the whole stigma of Kirk Cousins doesn't show up in prime time, but he showed up this past the Thursday night a couple weeks ago. So maybe this is a new Kirk Cousins. Like, I don't know if you saw the thing where the Kirk Cousins was talking about how, like, the fans in Atlanta, they do the swag and us surf.
Yeah, swag surf.
He's like, dude, this is so cool. He's like,
they're not doing that.
The whitest of white guys, but like, it's hilarious.
I think my highlight team I want to highlight is the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, a huge win at home over the Dallas Cowboys this past week. But you know, them dealing with injuries, I think even still, Brock Purdy has been consistent. He's been, you know, that guy that just does survive in advance, kind of like he's doing enough to do well with his team. I know, even though they're 4-4, and they have a tough schedule coming out. They're heading into the bye week in week 9. And I want to see, you know, there's news coming out that McCaffrey is supposed to be fast tracked for, I guess, week 10. They're going to be playing Tampa week 10. So this team I expected their record to be a little bit better than what it is. Well, obviously with the injuries that they're dealing with, you know, I think they play well this past weekend. Kittle having a huge week. This Guerrero, the guy I never heard of, Guerrero, the running back, had an excellent game. That was a guy that I noticed. He was 14 carries, 85 yards, and had some catches. So I think, you know, obviously holding down before McCaffrey comes out, even though they say McCaffrey's going to be fast tracked, you still don't know what, you know, is he going to be conditioned? Is he going to be up to speed at this point? That's going to be huge for them coming forward. But I think the 49ers are a team to watch, especially coming back. They do have a kind of a tough schedule. It's not going to be, you know, they have a lot of competitive teams that are going to be playing in the second half of the season. But the 49ers, I think, are playing well enough to still be kind of one of these teams, these kind of middle teams. They definitely have a potential to go, you know, past the first, second round. But, you know, time can only tell with injuries and so forth. So I think the 49ers as a team I'm going to be watching for going forward in the second half of the season.
All right. Awesome. Now, you know, let's get into our week 9 predictions. So, Gabe, as we roll through this, and before we gave our games of the week going into it, but like, we're just going to go through the list, do our quick predictions, and then just stop when you say this is your game. All right. And then we can dive a little deeper into it, and then we'll move on to the next one. So pull it up right here. All right, man. First game of week 9. It is the Houston Texans at the New York Jets. Houston Texans plus 1.5. New York Jets minus 1.5. So Jets as the home favorites. Interesting on Thursday Night Football. How do you feel about this game?
Fun game. I'm going for Houston.
I got Houston here too. New York has just not looked good to me. I get that they're at home, and I know Houston's missing Diggs, but I like Houston here. I think they're going to get so hit that 1.5 for Houston. All right. We got the New England Patriots at the Tennessee Titans. This has got to be the worst game of the week. This is terrible. New England plus 3.5, Tennessee minus 3.5. I'm going to go. This is a tough one. I'm going to go Tennessee. I think I'm just going to go based off the home factor. I like Tennessee here. I think they're going to win by, say, 4 points. I think they're just going to get with that 3.5.
Doo-doo ball. I'm going to avoid this game at all costs. I'll go Titans at home.
All right. New Orleans Saints at the Carolina Panthers. This is another team both teams that just not looked very good. Saints started off 2-0, but now they're 2-6. They've lost 6 in a row now. Injuries, aging team. They are -7 as the away dogs. I mean, the way favorites, Carolina's -7. But honestly, man, I'm going to go Carolina +7. I still think the Saints win, but they don't cover that 7-point line. I think they might win by like a field goal.
Yes, I'll say the same. Saints win, but 7, that 7 bothers me.
All right, we got the Denver Broncos at the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to say this is one of my games of the week.
Really?
This is going to be
-9.5?
Yeah,
Okay.
So honestly, I did this before looking at the odds, so I didn't know what the odds are. But I will say I would hammer that Denver +9.5. I do not trust Baltimore to cover that spread. I don't think Baltimore has only hit that spread like one time this year against the Buffalo Bills, which was just kind of a fluky game in the first place. I think it's going to be a lot closer. I'm going to say Denver gets within the 9.5. Playing at Baltimore is tough, but I do think this might be a potential like sneaky good matchup because that Denver defense is pretty damn good, and this Baltimore's defense is not very good. And after what we saw with Bo Nix this past week against Carolina, I don't see why he couldn't put up a decent amount of points against Baltimore as well. I think this is going to be a lot closer game than a lot of people are anticipating. I still got Baltimore though, but I'm going to take Denver here +9.5.
Yeah, I'll go Baltimore with the win.
You think Baltimore 10 plus points?
10 points is easy for Baltimore. Come on, Derrick Henry.
They haven't done it yet.
Derrick Henry.
So we'll see.
Let's go.
All right, Las Vegas Raiders at the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati -7.5 at home. Las Vegas Raiders +7.5. This one's a tough one for me. I'm going to go Bengals win, but I'm going Raiders +7.5. Raiders have generally kind of keep games semi-close. Cincinnati is kind of the same way. They've either barely lost or barely won.
Yeah, I'm going to go the same. Bengals win, but Raiders cover.
All right. We got the Los Angeles Chargers at the Cleveland Browns. Los Angeles -1.5 as the road favorites. Cleveland +1.5. I'm going to go, man, this is a tough one for me. Gabe, go. You got a decision?
I'm going to go with the Chargers. I still think the Browns had an excellent game. Jameis should do well, but I'll go with the Chargers to win.
I'm going to have to agree with you. I think the Chargers are a little bit more of a better team defensively, especially. I'm going to go Chargers. They win. Cleveland, I think they're going to be riding high, but I think reality is going to hit them. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get proved wrong. But yeah, let's go. Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. Miami +6.5. Bills -6.5. Gabe, what do you got here?
I got Buffalo. Tough week for Miami Dolphins. Tough schedule. Buffalo.
I got Buffalo winning, but I got Dolphins with the spread. I think they're going to keep it close. I think having Tua back is a big help, especially offensively. Yeah, I'm going Dolphins +6.5, but Bills win on the money line. All right. We got the Dallas Cowboys at the Atlanta Falcons. Dallas Cowboys +2.5. Atlanta Falcons -2.5. I'm going Falcons here. Cowboys are turning into a dumpster fire right now. Yeah, I like Atlanta, especially at home. I think they're going to play pretty well.
Yeah, I don't believe in Dak Prescott. I'll go with the Falcons at home.
All right, we got the Washington Commanders at the New York Jets. Washington -3.5. New York Giants, my bad. New York Giants +3.5. I'm going to go Commanders here. I don't care that they're on the road. Commanders they're playing so well right now. They had an insane Hail Mary. That's a game that we didn't bring up, which I feel like we probably should have, but nonetheless, I like the Commanders. They are rolling right now. But yeah, who do you got?
I got Commanders on the road.
All right. We got Chicago Bears at the Arizona Cardinals. I think this is a very good game, a very good matchup. Cardinals -1.5, Bears +1.5. I'm going to go Cardinals. I think they win by 2 points. This is going to be a super close, high-scoring game, I believe. I think we're going to get into the 30s here. It might be a 31-28 kind of deal, but I'm going Cardinals here.
Yeah, I'm going to go Cardinals at home, too.
All right. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Philadelphia Eagles. Jacksonville -7.5. Jacksonville +7.5. Philadelphia Eagles -7.5. I think the Eagles win, but I think the Jags get within 7.5. I like them. Jacksonville's generally been able to keep games pretty close. They're just losing it at the end for the most part, pretty much every single game except for one. So yeah, I'm going here. Doug Peterson homecoming.
Yeah, Eagles.
Eagles to the 7.5.
Eagles.
No faith in the Jags. All right. Los Angeles Chargers at the Seattle Seahawks. Los Angeles -1.5. Seahawks +1.5. Who you got, Gabe?
Closer than I think. I'm going Rams.
I'm going Rams too. All right. Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. Detroit -3.5. Green Bay +3.5. I'm going Detroit here. No Jordan Love. It's going to be hard.
This is my game of the week. Lions Packers. Like I said, I don't watch a ton of Packers games, but I think this should be a fun one. Hopefully it's a shootout. I'm gonna go Lions though. Lions on the road.
This would have been my game of the week if Love was playing, and it seems like he's not, and that hurts. I don't know. I think it's gonna be a little closer to game time decision, but man, Detroit's been unstoppable, dude. 50, 40 points like past few weeks is insane. All right, we got the Indianapolis Colts at the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota -5.5. Indianapolis +5.5. Give me Minnesota. I think this is an easy one for them.
Minnesota.
All right. Now, this is my final game of the week.
Oh, man. Oh, my God. Baker Mayfield. Go ahead.
Time to bake. Time to bake, baby. Time to bake.
I can't believe he's not in your MVP race. So,
he was there for a second, but I don't know. I mean, you can get a little shout. I don't know. He's top 10.
Man, that's a lot of points. 8.5. They think they're going to lose back.
8.5 is a lot. No, I got Tampa. I can see Tampa winning this game, to be honest with you.
Really?
I'm not going to pick a money line. I mean, I'm going to go with the Chiefs money line because it seems like they just are been graced by God and they just win no matter whatever happens to them. The football God has just tapped their forehead and they're glowing. I don't know, but definitely 8.5 is way too much. One thing that I've learned in the past few years is never trust the Chiefs spread. So I'm going Tampa Bay with the +8.5.
They use a lot. Listen, Baker Mayfield got to be efficient. He usually is in the beginning of the game. But then, there's always some bad fumble, bad cough up, bad interception. But give me the Chiefs, man. Chiefs win.
All right. We got the Cincinnati Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore -5.5. Cincinnati +5.5. Gabe, who do you got?
Ravens, never doubt. We still got a chance.
Oh, wait. Never mind.
That's for next week.
So, yeah, that's for next week. All right. The final game was Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate listening to the podcast. We've made it to the end of this episode. Covered everything week 8, previewed week 9. Hoping to see some more good games. I'm not going to lie. When I was going through the schedule, it was a little bit of a downer week. I mean, there's a couple would have been good matchups, but due to injuries and stuff, obviously Baltimore Bengals, that's always going to be a fun one. I think potentially, we all have our picks that we think are going to be good ones, but there's a lot of like downer ones for sure. But yeah, man, Gabe, any final thoughts? We let the people go.
Go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers. Dodgers might clean it out tonight. Game 4 of the World Series.
Oh,
and
man.
Yankees
all the New York fans.
It's going to be so great. There's nothing that gives me more joy than seeing New York lose. Don't matter.
Hey, man, this is the matchup I kind of wanted for like many years. LA, New York. But New York is just shit in the bed right now. But I'm rooting for
I'm
the
glad.
Dodgers.
And our co-host JoJo is probably crying right now.
Why you call him former?
So
He could still come back.
I didn't mean to say former. He just hasn't been on in a while.
Yeah.
So I always said former. That JoJo isn't fired. He just, when he gets a chance to get on, he can get on. But either way. Yeah, guys. Well, you know where to find the podcast. If you're on audio, go check out our YouTube channel, follow our social media. If you're on this YouTube video, go subscribe to the channel. And also, if you want to listen on the audio platforms, it's also linked down below. But yeah, appreciate you guys for making it to the end, and we will see you guys next week. Peace out, everybody.